I've always wanted to do something creative with my career. Um, I've always been interested in art. I don't think I had the confidence to realize that I wanted to be an artist professionally until I was in college. And then I was like, oh no, I have so much to catch up on. But it was definitely worth it. And I think VFX was a really great entry point for me to start to explore art because I was able to use my technical brain as well as my artistic brain and my storytelling brain all in one spot um, to really bring something super cool to life. I've always loved video games. My first video game I remember playing when I was 3-ish was Pokemon Stadium, and I just picked Rapidash because I was like, ooh, a horse, cool. And when I was in high school, I used RPG Maker to make an RPG about me and my friend going on adventures together, and I was like, oh my god, this is literally the most fun I have ever had doing anything. Like, I would spend so much time on it. So I was like, if I can make this a career, I will never work a day in my life. I have many favorite femme game characters. I would say Bayonetta is definitely a strong contender. I just like that she's really empowered by who she is, and also the Bayonetta games are just really fun. Um, I think it's an interesting subversion on the sexualized woman in a video game trope. That, you know, she seems to be aware that she's hot and like is going to use that to her advantage, and I think that's really cool. I do think femme characters are often presented as at once sexual but also unaware of sexuality and can be taken advantage of in that way. And that's what I really object to, is when sexuality simultaneously exists and yet doesn't exist. There are a lot of female game devs out there that inspire me. One of them is Taylor McHugh. She is a trans femme developer who makes really interesting short narrative games that I think are really worth playing, though they do all come with massive trigger warnings. I also love Anastasia Opera. She makes really cool procedural work, and that was a huge inspiring person for me to get into tech art. I used her tutorials and all that, and she's so smart and really cool. And I also really appreciate the work that Anita Sarkeesian did. I know she's not a game developer directly, but I think her making people think about the role of female game characters in games was really important. In my opinion, the hardest part of being a woman in games is being a woman trying to get into games. I think once you have your bona fides these days, a lot of people will automatically respect you. Obviously, there are always going to be people who are mean no matter what, but I think there's a lot of doubt in the general public and in game developers when they hear about a woman who wants to go into games. I know I experienced that a lot. I had a teacher one time blame my male best friend for making me go into games, and that just felt like a lot of like my agency was taken away. Like, this wasn't my passion. Like, obviously a man's the only reason I could be interested in this. So yeah, that kind of stuff can be really demoralizing, and I do think women face a lot of doubt from male peers and teachers who are encouraging them subtly not to go in that direction. I do think the representation of women in games has improved a lot, like women characters in games. There are lots of really cool female characters out there. And even like remasters and remakes can sometimes bring a new light to a previously beloved female character that was maybe a little underdeveloped in the first iteration. Like Aerith from Final Fantasy comes to mind. I love her portrayal in Final Fantasy VII Remake and Rebirth so much. For indie versus AAA, I think there is good representation in both places. I think as far as like celebrity game devs in both areas, it's a lot of men. I think a lot of men get a lot of credit for collaborative work that is done by people of all genders. But I hope that changes in the future. I do think it matters how women are portrayed in media generally. I think this argument is sometimes reduced to, oh, well, just because I see a woman being mistreated in a game doesn't mean I'd mistreat a woman in real life. And, like, generally, yeah. But I think it's a lot more nuanced than that. I think it's important for people to see themselves in everyone around them. You want to see positive attributes in women that you also see in yourself. It helps you identify with different groups of people more. And I think that doesn't just extend to women, I think that it extends to people of all different types of backgrounds. I do know women who are trying to get into games or get into games, and I do just think the industry is very difficult right now for everyone. But I do think women do face this special problem of self-doubt. Of course, everyone experiences imposter syndrome and self-doubt, but just because of the conditioning of society, you tend to doubt yourself more because you think, should I be doing this as a woman? I think the industry could be more inclusive to everyone if we just took chances on people who weren't known quantities, if we trained more juniors, if we let people work remote. Not everyone can afford to move out to California, and that's how you get those underrepresented populations, is you come to them. If you're a woman trying to get into games right now, you absolutely can do it. I super recommend reaching out to women you see on LinkedIn or X or wherever that are doing the kind of work you want to do, and a lot of them might have some good advice for you. So just remember, you're not alone in this. We all want to help each other and uplift each other.